A man with 11 passports and 8 names, a Chinese tycoon and probable spy, slithered his way into Mar-a-Lago's elite circle. This human chameleon went from being besties with China's top spy master to hanging out on yachts with Trump's top advisors. Just when everyone thought they had him figured out, he pulled off his biggest trick, a billion-dollar scam that left thousands of followers holding the bag. Feds say he took the money and lived like a rap star. $36,000 mattresses, a $4 million Bugatti, a $67 million penthouse, a $27 million mansion, and a $37 million yacht. In 2024, a federal jury crashed his party with a guilty verdict. They served him with felonies ranging from wire fraud to organized crime, securities fraud, racketeering, money laundering. Our master illusionist had his eyes on the White House as his ultimate stage, wooing the political elite while orchestrating a billion-dollar shell game. This guy popped up out of nowhere during China's economic boom like a financial ninja. One moment he's as popular as Bing Search, the next, bam! He's popping up on Forbes' billionaire list. This guy took go big or go home to a new level. His business empire was a financial Taco Bell menu item. Real estate, tech companies, and financial schemes all mixed together. When it came to parties, he made Jay Gatsby look like a Girl Scout peddling cookies. These were high-stakes schmooze fests. China's elite got buttered up more than grits at a Waffle House. This guy handed out Lamborghinis like party mitts. He was playing 4D chess, schmoozing with China's elite while secretly giving back rubs to their enemies. Like a political chameleon, this guy wasn't just playing both sides. He had season tickets to both teams. Like a chameleon on steroids, he made everyone think they were his BFF. Beijing's authorities, looking at his growing influence, decided it was time to crank up the heat. In 2015, he fled China with the urgency of a squirrel at a hillbilly barbecue, touching down in the United States. He set up shop in a $67 million penthouse in Manhattan. Because when you're in the fraud business, why not do it with a view of Central Park? In 2017, he took to Twitter and unleashed a tweet storm of accusations against the CCP leadership. The CCP responded as swiftly as a toddler spotting an unattended cookie jar. Chinese officials slapped him with an Interpol red notice. He stood firm, claiming the allegations were simply political payback, like a bad Yelp review from a vengeful ex. Get ready for a name drop that'll make you go, wait, who?
Thousands of victims of more than approximately $1 billion.
What we understand is that Interpol has already issued a red notice.
Guo Wengwei skyrocketed into the American spotlight like a dramatic reality show contestant, crafting a media empire and cozying up to political big shots. His bromance with Stephen Bannon was like a match made in conspiracy theorist heaven. They teamed up to shake their fists at Beijing. Guo Media slapped Bannon's name on the payroll and cranked out G News and GTV Media Group, a buffet of anti-Chinese rhetoric and wild unconfirmed claims. This dynamic duo collected a fan base so loyal they practically followed them into a burning building, all while they played the role of fearless truth-teller dropping explosive allegations against the Chinese government. But behind this self-styled crusader, critics saw a guy who was less Batman and more Joker, possibly using chaos to settle scores and push his agenda. Turned New York Harbor into an offbeat political blockbuster, unveiling the new federal state of China alongside Steve Bannon on June 4th, 2020. Perched on his yacht, the pair live-streamed their self-proclaimed shadow government's mission to stick it to Beijing. The event had all the subtlety of a fireworks display at a mime convention. Planes trailered banners overhead, and Guo delivered his speech with the gusto. For the grand finale, he signed the manifesto in his own blood. To his devoted followers, Guo wasn't just a guy with a big boat and an even bigger ego. He was the George Washington of New China. He didn't offer concrete plans, just fiery speeches that turned simmering discontent into a blazing bonfire of, yeah, let's do it. In 2020, Guo rolled out GTV Media Group, proclaiming it would expose and demolish the Chinese Communist Party's monopoly on information. Armed with a slick, confidential information memorandum, he pitched GTV shares to his loyal social media followers, most of whom were anti-CCP diehards, primed to trust him blindly. By the time he'd finished it, over 5,000 investors coughed up nearly $500 million. Instead, their money was financing champagne, caviar, cars, mansions, and yachts. Guo wielded his talent for fundraising like a magician's wand, abracadabraing his followers' savings straight into his pockets. His Himalaya Farm Alliance and G-Club's programs became cash vacuums, sucking up nearly $500 million. Into his own luxurious piggy bank, Guo drove headfirst into the world of cryptocurrency, whipping up enough hype around Himalaya coin to even make Dogecoin blush. As Guo's media empire grew and fundraising soared, authorities scrutinized his activities. In September 2022, federal agents seized $335 million across Guo and his partner Zhe's accounts. Zhe attempted to sneak away with nearly $50 million, but was thwarted. By March 2023, authorities had seized over $600 million. Prosecutors indicted Guo and Zhe on charges of securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, and racketeering conspiracy. Despite Guo's image as a crusading dissident, the seized millions and looming charges threatened to collapse his house of cards. His wealth and media prominence now served as evidence against him. Prosecutors unraveled his performance, showcasing how he rerouted supporters' cash to his real passion, a $50 million mansion, so big it probably has its own zip code, a penthouse that screams evil lair chic. Toss in a $4 million Bugatti, a $37 million super yacht. Guo's lifestyle left his followers less inspired by his revolution and more in need of a fraud hotline. As Guo's notoriety surged, so did a chaotic tangle of enemies and lawsuits. In 2020, dissident Tang Bao spilled the tea on Guo's apparent pastime of running harassment campaigns against other dissidents. Guo's wild accusations whipped his followers into such a frenzy, throwing threats around like confetti at a questionable parade. It left many wondering if his agenda came with a secret punchline. The lawsuits came faster than a bad date on a dating app. Pacific Alliance Asia Opportunity Fund knocked on his door, asking for a loan that ballooned into $88 million. H&A Group joined the lineup, accusing him of defamation, while Hong Kong authorities in 2019 thought, let's freeze his family bank accounts for a money laundering investigation. Oh, and to keep the drama spicy, a US lawsuit slapped him with the title of Chinese spy. With shady fundraising practices under the microscope, Guo settled with the SEC in 2021 to the tune of $480 million. Not enough to buy back his credibility. While he kept shouting, I'm a victim of the CCP, the global legal mess told a story more convoluted than a soap opera, complete with an inadvertent coalition of adversaries who probably couldn't agree on anything except their shared disbelief of Guo's antics. A con man in a three-piece suit, Guo turned his media empire and investment schemes into a masterclass of financial theater. In 2020, he pulled off a $452 million unregistered stock offering for GTV Media Group, only to funnel $100 million straight into a hedge fund with more mood swings than a teenager. Himalaya Farm Alliance raked in over $150 million from investors by selling them promises more inflated than a used car salesman's slogan. And let's not forget G-Clubs, the so-called exclusive membership platform, where members got the privilege of paying $250 million for absolutely nothing, except maybe a front row seat to their own disappointment. By 2022, federal authorities were seizing over $300 million from Himalaya exchange accounts and lifting the curtain on how Guo's charisma-fueled Ponzi-Palooza bankrolled his extravagant taste while leaving investors with shattered dreams and maxed-out credit cards. Guo's once grand empire went down faster than the 737 MAX. As his loyal supporters scattered like cockroaches, federal authorities took the whole house, seizing his assets and sending shockwaves through what remained of Guo's so-called business empire. Demoralized employees were left trying to steer a sinking ship. His inner circle quickly became his outer circle, as confidence flipped faster than pancakes at a dime. Whistleblowers crawled out of the woodwork, armed with tales of deception. Furious investors showed up demanding refunds. Dissidents added fuel to the fire, exposing Guo's alleged tactics of intimidation. Guo responded with all the fury of a cat being denied a warm laundry pile, lashing out at former allies while spinning increasingly wild yarns that made conspiracy theorists look grounded. His counterattacks came off less like a battle plan and more like a nervous breakdown. The grand finale came in 23, when federal agents showed up for what can only be described as a live episode of Cops Billionaire Edition. Guo professed his innocence with the conviction of someone who's been caught red-handed at the cookie jar. Investigators continued finding threads in his tangled web of deceit. For law enforcement, it wasn't a surprise party, but the long-anticipated grand finale to years of shady dealings. Meanwhile, supporters defended him like he was the last slice of pizza, while fair-weather friends jumped ship faster than rats on a sinking yacht. On the flip side, Guao's critics were practically doing the cha-cha. Their warnings shifted from paranoid rants to why didn't we listen sooner? As they celebrated, some wanted to dig deeper because one can never be sure a guy like Guao isn't hiding a secret compartment full of metaphorical or literal skeletons. Chinese state media basked in the glow of his humiliation like it was a national holiday. They couldn't help but wonder if Guao had a few last embarrassing surprises. Legal experts, staring at the tangle of lies and connections, braced themselves like they were about to untangle Christmas lights. The rumor mill worked overtime, speculating whether Guao's bromance with Trump might throw him a lifeline. But the public opinion was screaming, justice better not play favorites. The courtroom buzzed with tension like a cheap neon sign on its last flicker. His defense team looked like they were auditioning for the role of overwhelmed litigators in some legal drama. The pile of evidence resembled a mountain. Even a Sherpa would shrug and say, hard pass. Guao's lead counsel, a legal gladiator with the charm of a used car salesman, came out swinging. He tried to convince the jury that prosecution witnesses weren't credible, but instead, disgruntled ex-employees clutching grudges tighter than a grandma holding her purse on the subway. He suggested the FBI investigation was an off-Broadway production of Law and Disorder. The defense tried unraveling witness testimonies, grilling investors until they looked like they'd rather explain physics than how they'd missed red flags. Some witness stories began to wobble a little, like a bad Jenga tower, but the prosecution didn't flinch. Armed with enough receipts to make a CVS cashier jealous, they mapped out Guao's financial shenanigans, complete with a highlight reel of his absurd splurges, luxury yachts, custom rugs, and enough Lamborghinis to make a rapper blush, all bought with other people's money. Guao's defense threw a Hail Mary motion, trying to weave his Chinese dissident status into the narrative. The judge shut that down fast. You'd think she was swatting at a fly with a gavel. Meanwhile, Guao's poker face started to fold like a laundromat special when faced with the prosecutor's questions about this elusive millions. Watching him stutter through explanations was like witnessing a raccoon try to talk its way out of a trash can. In the final act, the defense's argument about Guao's oh-so-noble intentions crumbled faster than a sandcastle at high tide. The prosecution hammered their case home, delivering undeniable proof that Guao wasn't just guilty. He was starring in a cautionary tale for future con artists. The prosecution exuded the kind of quiet confidence you only get when you know the other team is trying to sell you a made-up playbook. Guao's fate was now in the hands of 12 jurors, but everyone in the room seemed to know which way the scales were tipping. So wild you'd think it came straight out of a telenovela. Li Chen confessed to sinking his life savings in the GTV, sold on Guao's dream of an anti-CCP media empire, only to wind up so broke, his wallet started carrying him around. Mei Zhang shared how she mortgaged her future for the Himalaya Farm Alliance, only to realize her patriotism had been weaponized like a coupon-stealing granny on Black Friday. Remember those volunteers who tirelessly translated Guao's rally cries? Turns out, when they dared to ask, hey, where's the money? They got hit with betrayal so nasty it could have been subtitled in every language they spoke. Meanwhile, Guao was on social media, flexing his intimidation campaigns against critics like it was a new TikTok dance challenge. The foreman's voice pierced the stillness, delivering guilty verdicts with the steady rhythm of a sledgehammer. 9 crushing blows that left no wiggle room for doubt. His supporters wilted like bad lettuce, sobbing into scarves and sleeves while prosecutors barely concealed victorious smirks. Guao sat staring at the bench with the emotion of a DMV employee on a slow Wednesday. It was like someone dropped a Mentos into a WeChat soda bottle. Outrage fizzled and popped with abandoned fury as ex-followers wrestled with the horrifying realization the revolutionary hero was less freedom fighter and more fraudulent huckster. The rumor mill went into overdrive, churning out stories of espionage plots and communist frame jobs. Even the best conspiracy theorists struggled to duct tape a decent narrative together. His posters, once proudly displayed in restaurant windows and shop fronts, were now being yanked down with unceremonious flair. One elderly man ripped one to shreds, muttering what could have only been the Cantonese equivalent of, "You lying sack of noodles," as he stomped on Guao's smiling face. Stories of financial devastation surfaced, Decimated savings, foreclosed dreams, and retirees sitting on pensions about as stable as a Jenga tower in an earthquake. The once revered freedom icon had gone full Voldemort. His name became unspeakable, downright toxic. His disillusioned followers are left to unknot their lives from the pretzel of trust they handed to a self-proclaimed revolutionary who turned out to be the tycoon of trickery. Dragged out in chains like a man who'd just been told his credit card bill wasn't going to pay itself. 9 convictions hit harder than any midlife crisis, threatening to turn his golden years into prison orange ones. And his vast fortune? Poof, gone. Dollar bills were the first ones to ghost him. Meanwhile, his lawyers talk of an appeal like kids at a carnival trying to win the impossible stuffed bear. Legal analysts just rolled their eyes. At the ripe age of 52, Guao's dramatic tumble from his Crystal Palace empire was less of a fall and more of a faceplant off a skyscraper. Promises of legal salvation seemed like bedtime stories pitched to a kid who's already seen the monster under the bed. The justice system wasn't playing around. It sent a booming message. America is closed for shady international business. But let's be real. It's not every day you nab a guy with enough dirt to make a soap opera look like a documentary. Chinese officials cracked open bottles like it was New Year's, toasting Guao's demise and sending out a loud, "Don't even think about it" memo to potential defectors. Democracy activists broke into a cold sweat, nervously Googling what to do if the hero of your movement becomes a potential bargaining chip. Guo Wengui's journey was like a fireworks show in reverse, starting with an all-out bang and ending with a shower of sparks fizzling into disappointment. Lauded as the Robin Hood of communist oppression, some wondered if he skipped the giving back to the poor part and went straight to keeping it all. Sure, his tales of corruption turned heads, but so did his quest for self-glorification. Guo reshaped how many viewed China, though somehow managed to buddy up with enough extremists to make even tinfoil hats look mainstream. In the end, Guo was less a hero and more a carnival barker, pulling the rug out from everyone who bought a ticket to his show. His legacy, a complicated cocktail of dashed dreams, shattered trust, and far too much garnish. Since we made this video, there have been significant updates about our friend Guo. In January, Yanping Yvette Wang, Guo's former chief of staff, received a hefty sentence of 10 years in prison and was ordered to pay a jaw-dropping $1.4 billion in forfeitures. This has everyone asking, why is it only Wang facing the music? Guo's sentencing has been repeatedly delayed with no date in sight. Last court appearance was on March 3rd, 2025. But nothing happened other than a new update to be issued on March 10th. In the midst of this chaos, Guo has brazenly been lobbying for a pardon from former President Trump. His own sentencing remains in limbo while the legal storm continues to brew. And let's not forget Qin Mingjie, Guo's co-conspirator, who has been charged with obstruction of justice, but has mysteriously gone off the grid since the summer of 2024. Where is he? This roller coaster of legal issues has drawn significant attention, not only for Guo's high-profile connections, but also for the ripple effects it has on the fight against corruption. The intricate web of deceit continues to unravel, and as this saga unfolds, we'll be right here to keep you updated on every twist and turn. If you like this long-form content, it takes a lot of investigation and an awful lot of work to cover subjects that other people aren't touching. So we hope you'll like, subscribe, and share our stories and tune in for more. I am the TikTok Fugitive.